Hello, Ryan here, and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday. This is a weekly show which covers all of the news from the week just past. Be sure to subscribe if you like what you see, and let's get on with it. This week, we take a look at the amazing work being done to fully flesh out the AI in the verse. We check out new cave types, the Drake Corsair, and upcoming wheeled vehicle physics. Plus, we get a first look at the upcoming ship salvage mechanic. So this week's Inside Star Citizen was an all sprint report episode, which are always my favourite. The week's show kicked off looking at the AI landing spline work, which makes AI landings and takeoffs more realistic and natural, and less sort of direct and robotic. And as Jared puts it, what we are seeing here is the new safe procedural spline generation, which uses an iterative process to apply repulsive and spring forces to each control point based on the various assigned distance fields in the area. Quite a mouthful, but the white line basically shows the original direct flight path, while the blue line is what has been auto-generated by this process to make sure that it comes down smoothly and avoids everything on the ground. Now, Jared did say that this will add exciting elements to missions throughout the PU, enabling new mission types and alternate outcomes to missions we already have. Now, this tech and the ability for AI is pretty much essential for so many use cases in the verse, from bringing in reinforcements, as Jared says, which I suspect is heavily needed for Squadron 42, likely why they're focusing on that first, but also just to have NPCs capable of going anywhere that the player can, providing support, rescue, supplies, and so much more. It is essential to the economy as well, and seeing the progress here makes me very happy, as it does look like it's coming along well, and it shouldn't be too much longer till we see this in the verse. And then when you combine this with the navigation mesh, we will soon have actual NPC populations capable of moving around the verse just like we can. So very important work going on right now. Next up, we can see work on randomizing non-hero movement speeds just to add a little bit more diversity to the characters in Squadron and in the PU, giving them a little bit more believability. I do also remember reading in a recent Squadron 42 monthly report that they are also capturing, I think it was about 25 different walk styles, so that the non-hero NPCs don't all walk the same, which will certainly be useful for the PU and likely expand a bit more on that as well. Next, we got to see an update on AI collision avoidance tech, where not only will the NPC notice someone and make an appropriate animation when passing the characters in narrow spaces, they can now also detect when a conversation is happening between two NPCs and then maneuver around those who are partaking in the dialogue together. So quite a small but very interesting detail that, when all put together, will form the bigger picture. But do also notice the blue floor, that is the navigation mesh in work, allowing the NPCs to navigate on a surface. And finally, for AI, here is an NPC eating Big Benny's noodles. Anyway, let's move on over to the PU character team. Here are some additional frontier clothing options, offering a nice range of variety, and as they say, maintaining a recognizable theme throughout, with the focus on utility and survival for while you are out in the wilderness. The next bunch of options are designed for more extreme cold environments. And finally, here are some other NPC outfits with the addition of overalls, vests, and ponchos. All of these are certainly more my style, and although they are likely being designed for Pyro specifically, even if I'm not living in Pyro, which I think I will be, to be fair, I will certainly take the trip to Pyro to get kitted out with these outfits, as I think the style direction is perfect. Now, after these, we got to see the progress going on with new cave archetypes and entrances beyond what we currently have, being the sort of rocky archetype. This example here is the sandy archetype cave that is currently being explored. And I will say, this personally looks incredible. I know it was mentioned earlier in the year that they are trying to design caves to match the planets or moons biomes that they are found on. So this, to me, looks like it could be a cave intended for Daymar, but it also looks here like it could have multiple entrances, although these shafts of light could just be kind of like an art or lighting rule of cool option rather than, follow it to the surface. But it still looks very cool, and I'm excited to see the whole range of different caves we get for the next round when they come along. which according to the progress tracker, the new cave archetypes I think have work going all the way up to early October, so we're not likely going to see this in the verse until end of the year at the earliest. Anyway, next we got to see work being done to build out a new library of underwater flora to populate, obviously, the eventual many rivers found throughout the verse. Here we can see some river weeds, and hopefully many of these plants will be harvestable so that I can build a little shack by the river and just live off the land. That is a Star Citizen dream of mine. Next up, we took a look at progress on the Drake Corsair, which Jared says is the first Drake ship to be taken to the gold standard, which I am very much looking forward to seeing, as I am a big Drake fan. But as someone pointed out to me on stream yesterday, I do wonder why the Drake Vulture isn't the ship that's going to be the first gold standard Drake ship with this coming in 3.18, as work on the Corsair doesn't come to a close until mid-August, so maybe there's stuff that will be missing on the Vulture that they are planning to bring in with the Corsair. But anyway, here is the mess hall. They said they had to change this up a little bit as the original location of the airlock, being alongside the turret entrances, was causing problems with traversal. So they have placed it in the mess hall, which looked like it fits quite nicely. The cockpit though, which is currently going through the final art phase, looks amazing with all of these interactive keys, buttons and toggles. I do wonder if these keyboards will be interactive. Well, both keyboards. I only use one keyboard in real life, so I don't know how I'm going to cope with the Drake cockpit. So second to last, we got to see a little tease of something that they will discuss more as it gets closer to release, which is these physics changes to the wheeled vehicles to make them feel more realistic and just act as we would expect them to. On the left is the original current arcade style, with the right being the new physically based movement system, which even here looks so much better than the current system. It already looks much more weighty and fun to drive, and I can just imagine Atmo Esports' excitement seeing this. It is going to make the Daymar Rally and all these community races just so much more interesting. They say it also improves the overall falling of vehicles as it accurately calculates what would happen. Now, to finish the episode off, we got to see a work in progress teaser of the Drake Vulture scraping the hull of an Origin 890, which Jared does mention we will see more of as it gets closer to release. Now, I have no idea how we are going to be controlling two scraping beams simultaneously, but I do love this idea. But also bear in mind that this is still work in progress, and I presume visual effects and a lot of other gameplay elements are yet to be finalized. But even for tier 0 of salvaging, this is going to be so much fun. As I said before, it looks like it's going to be quite therapeutic as well. But from here, they will expand on the other various aspects of salvaging, like different materials, eventually slicing off chunks of the ship as well, and of course all the salvaging of physical components. But for tier 0, for 3.18, it is going to be a lot of fun, I'm sure. Anyway, that was Inside Star Citizen this week. A great episode with huge progress being made in a lot of areas, but we must move on. So also this week, we had a lore post titled Homesick, which was taken from a previous jump point, so I have certainly read that already. The Squadron 42 monthly report was released to Spectrum, but I have already covered this in a dedicated video, which I will link in the description below. Also linked below is my roadmap update coverage. It only brought with it the addition of the RSI Scorpius to 317.1, with CIG mentioning that the Alpha 318 column will get its proper update for the next roadmap update, so in a fortnight's time. And finally, Star Citizen Live this week was with members of the modular content team, as they show us the process of how they put together in place a derelict colonialism outpost. Very interesting to watch this, but it didn't hold a great amount of information for me to dedicate a segment to in this show, although there was a very sneaky teaser right at the end, which I will show here, where we saw some very unusual sort of visual anomaly off over the horizon while stood on Daymar. Now, we don't know what this is, but if I were to guess, I would say it was possibly the jump point visual effects from Stanton to Pyro, but they were keeping this very close to their chest and just teasing us. Thank you, CIG. But yeah, do let me know what you think this could be in the comments below. I am eager to see. So that brings us to the end of the show. If you do enjoy my content, please consider subscribing and hitting that like button. Also, I am able to do this thanks to my very generous patrons and channel members. If you appreciate what I do and would like to help make it even better from as little as $1 a month, all of the links are provided below.